Hey guys, Ryan here with Nuclear Business Club, and this is Our 3 Cents, the show for dreamers, doers, and entrepreneurs. Today I am lucky enough to be here with my co-host, Bree Goldstein, in addition to JP and Julia with the hit YouTube show, Healthy Junk Food. And today we are going to be talking to them about how they make their living with YouTube, okay? This is a taboo subject that most people don't want to discuss, but we do feel like it's really, very valuable content information because everybody nowadays wants to be this YouTube star, and that's like the dream. They're the new celebrities, so to speak. And so we really want to kind of hone in and see what exactly do you do, what is your secret sauce, and how have you managed to gain such a mass following doing what you do, which is entertaining, but who would have thought, so to speak. So first off, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's really just a pleasure and to meet you and to have you here. So let's get right into it. Bree, you have anything new in your life before we get started? I know it's been a week since we've seen you, so anything new with the book or anything?
Yeah, the book is great. It's kind of on the back burner at the moment. Everyone else who's involved with it is doing their parts, which gives me a nice little break. Everything is good.
Okay.
Right? Like, I've got one project that just wrapped up. I have another one that's ramping up. And so in between, I also have a little break, which is excellent because it allows me to really finalize my syllabi or my syllabus. It's just one class this semester. And the presentations for my class this semester. If you don't know, I teach at UCF. So,
that's fabulous.
Yeah, that's fun.
Teaching is one of the hardest jobs, and to be able to do that and this and everything else,
I'm a terrible teacher.
Well, thank you.
And my mom's a teacher. She's also a Democrat. And
we both have parents that are teachers. My mom is also a teacher. Excelsior College, he teaches nursing students how to teach nursing. So, there's just so many different avenues of it. Definitely something that you need a regular education for, something like YouTubing. It's not the same exact thing, even though, of course, we both went to college back in the day, it feels like now.
We're going to open up a YouTube university where we will have classes and syllabuses. And
are you?
No, but wouldn't that be a good idea?
That's actually a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead and lock in some IP and stuff soon because that's a brilliant idea.
Like Thumbnails 101, there'd be different classes you would take on editing, photography, videography. And I understand everyone knows it is a great idea. The problem is creating a college requires more than Julia and I. And I think that's where people dream big but really need a huge team and infrastructure to pull it off.
But you could probably create a class. That's how my class got started.
Oh, of course. Just start with a class and then it kind of grows organically
or
that
an
way.
online school.
Online is definitely the way to go now. These kids just live on the internet, and quite frankly, I think they're afraid to be in public. So
probably, yeah, with all the technology and everything around.
People,
yeah.
It's like the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Agoraphobia, that'll be a huge thing ramping up too. So we should invest in medication to help agoraphobia. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I love it. That's awesome. That's funny. We should ask if we would have had the doctor here still. We could ask him about that as well. Well, real quick, guys, because the healthy junk food phenomenon, so to speak, is just really, really impressive. I don't know. I don't know why I like it. I don't know what draws me to it. I don't know why I watch you guys, but I watch obsessively. I think it's mostly because of this guy, actually. He's hilarious. But
I don't know. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
We get a 50-50 split.
One.
Yeah, there's a big Jew squad. There's a Julia squad and there's a JP squad.
I'm just so glad that we were 50-50 cut in the room right now. It makes me a little bit less uncomfortable. I'm like, it's all you, JP. Oh, no, it's some Julia, too. I'm like, yes.
We're very yin and yang. I think that's what people like because we aren't cartoon characters. Well, actually, we kind of are cartoon characters of ourselves, but we are the opposites as far as I'm the typical bro that's going to be like, yo, babe, I'm going to cut corners and do it the easy way. And then the woman's just like, I can't, and you're messy, you don't even wash your hands. We can all relate to this.
Are you saying I'm messy and I don't wash my hands?
No, Julia will,
you?
Okay.
Kind of I always wash my hands, and you
We have a real relationship, and men and women are different, and our dichotomy, I think, is very relatable on camera, so other people watch it and be like, oh, that's kind of like me and my wife in the kitchen. So
like a modern-day I Love Lucy with a spin and a bunch of fun food experiments.
Sure, and I'm old enough to know what I Love Lucy is, by the way, so I'm proud to say.
I didn't really watch it either. It was the first thing I thought of, to be honest. But well, real quick.
I love Lucy.
I know,
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to admit it.
No.
She's
Lucille Ball, I love
and
her.
Ricky, Ricardo, like.
Yeah.
come
Oh yeah,
on.
Ricky. Oh, he was just like telenovela. I feel like. Anyway, so
What?
Ricky, he was like the love
Oh.
interest.
Oh, okay.
Right, he was her husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her
He was like the
husband.
hot, good-looking
Husband.
Spanish guy, right? That was like her husband.
Yeah.
Ricky Ricardo. Or
That
whatever.
noise you made? What was that?
I can't do that. Though. I
can't
need
do
to
it
drink
again?
some more of this Boost.
Yes.
This Bang.
Have some of the bang.
They are delicious, I will say.
This Bang is actually banging. And actually, I can't believe it's got 0 artificial flavors, 0 artificial colors.
It does have 300 milligrams of
Rainbow
caffeine, though, so
unicorn?
please be careful on that. But
I gotta try this.
Okay, yeah, maybe I should calm down on this then. I'm already starting to shake.
Well, real quick, guys, let me ask you this, because there's a few people out there that are probably still living under a rock and don't know what healthy junk food is. So why don't you guys quickly give us a little bit of background, kind of tell us what healthy junk food is, how this came to be, how did this all solidify? I mean, kind of, you can start with when you guys met or anything, wherever you want a good starting point, but let us know.
Okay, well, I would say that after we met, Julia kind of got into the saw my habit of eating a lot of junk food, a lot of fast food. I was living the bachelor life, and she basically said that, hey, we need to cut this out of her diet. If you want to have a Big Mac, make a Big Mac at home. So I'm like, well, can I film it? That way we can remember how to make it again. She said, sure. And then we started uploading videos of us making like Crunchwrap Supremes. And
Now, was the original premise, because I have to ask this because I was thinking this, and maybe I'm completely off base, but was the original premise of the show to teach people how to make a healthier option of junk food, or was it just kind of a play on words, you guys just liked the name and it fit well and ran with it?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. I wanted it to be healthier than going to McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell. And it started like that for like the first 10 episodes. Also, I had no idea what YouTube was. Like, I knew that I would go there and like learn something if I didn't know something, or I would watch people eating food just because I'm weird. But like, I never understood that I could have a YouTube channel and make it my business at that time. So JP was the host, and you see me cooking, so in the first like several videos it's just my hands. And after about 15-20 videos, we ended up getting kind of unhealthy. But it was supposed to be healthy junk food, HEALTHY, but the username was already taken. So when we go to create the account, it just became HELL because of the play on words, I guess.
Nice.
But also, it's just better now. Now we can be unhealthy, and it's okay.
But coming from like a business standpoint, I always advise people, usually don't create a name for your channel, kind of brand your own name, and then you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Maybe have like a concept, but that can be like a lower level part of your business tree or platform. So for example, JP and Julia would brand her and I, and healthy junk food would be a subsector of JP and Julia.
Gotcha.
So healthy junk food also is a really long word, and I like things to be short, especially if you're going to like give business cards out and like your email address is so long that you can't even write on a napkin.
So you could do like JJP, Julia and JP.
Yeah, we can make several more YouTube channels out of our already YouTube channel, which is actually why we did. So Healthy Junk Food was born, and after that, several years later, we created a second channel called JP and Julia. And now people are starting to actually know our name a little bit more, we're noticing. Instead of people coming up to us and saying, "Are you healthy junk food?" They're saying, "Are you JP and Julia?" And it's awesome. JP has a funny joke about this.
Yeah, a fan came up and he said, "Hey, are you healthy junk food?" I'm like, "No, I'm JP. I don't go to your job and ask you, hey, are you Target?"
Oh my God, that's
I
awesome.
never said that to him.
You thought it.
I thought as a joke.
No.
I would never say that.
He never
The
said
people
it,
that
but he
come up
wanted
are
to.
the most glorious treasures that we could ever imagine. The people that we actually have a face to a comment or review. All jokes aside, we absolutely think it's probably the thing that keeps us going on YouTube is to get those reactions, those live reactions from those people.
Wow. That's fascinating. I'll be honest. Bree, I don't want to jump too much in front of you. Do you want to run with it if you got something?
Sure. I wanted to go back to the comments that you mentioned. How do you approach comments? Are you really like looking forward to seeing what people say, or is it, ooh, we got a comment, or maybe now that you get so many comments, it's like, all right, here we go. Do you set aside time to
You go through
respond?
a phase. You go through a long phase. Do you want to tell them the beginning phase?
I'm actually like at the end already. Like now, whenever I post a video, I want to see what people say. I want to see if they're positive reactions, like, and or funny or whatever they say. Like, it's important for me to have that first initial response. And like the first few hours after I post a video, I always have it like kind of refreshing in the back end of my computer, so I can just be watching and like hearting and like trying to be engaged with our audience now. But initially is a different story, like when we first started as a YouTube channel.
Yeah, like I feel like you go through phases with comments. The first phase is no one knows who you are. Some people that stumble upon you organically will be nice. Some people that stumble upon you won't. You might get like a 50-50, but generally people like to find that new talent, so they feel like attached to you, like I own you. So when you're new, you get a lot of people that feel like they have ownership over you because they met you at such a small time, and then they'll drop off. So then you get the next comments that are like, "You've changed," you know.
Sell out.
So then they drop off, and then when you go viral, that's when you get the most craziest hate ever because you're getting millions of people that have never seen you before saying the meanest things you'll ever hear. So the only time you really see mean comments is when you go viral. Once you've cultivated an audience that we have, they're all 99%. Are very pleasant, so you don't deal with mean comments anymore.
Okay.
So one of my students' biggest fears that they report to me is video. They don't want to be in front of the camera. They don't want their voice on camera. It's scary because of the feedback that they get. And in fact, I had recorded a video of my lecture to use while I was out on maternity leave for a couple weeks, and one of my students went onto YouTube and trolled me, which was really kind of silly since we were in the middle of the semester. So when I came back a week later, I said, I think we should talk. He didn't like the sound quality, and I just did it on my home computer. Mm-hmm. I was sitting in my office. It was fine. It wasn't wonderful. It wasn't terrible. It was C quality fine.
It was like vlog quality.
Yeah, it was fine. It worked.
It's for a class. You're not you're not doing anything
with
it
other than
You're trying to win an award,
You're teaching a class.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was doing it to be nice,
Yeah.
right? I'm out on maternity leave. Let me make sure you get this specific information in my words so it's not coming from a substitute. Mm-hmm. That's okay. But that's like their biggest fear. And I have thick skin. I'm not going to be offended by a student or anyone else necessarily trolling me. Mm-hmm. But that's their fear. How did you overcome those comments? I mean, especially from strangers who don't know you.
After a while, you just get numb to it.
Is it worse from strangers or is it worse from people that know you, actually?
We're like dead bodies.
No, it's worse.
No, you're
after a while.
I just don't care what people say.
I don't feel anymore.
No, but no, we do. I think the things that like hurt us the most are like like JP doesn't like to be called not funny. I don't like it when people talk about the way I look. But you know, it's just like those types of things are behind. They're trolls or whatever you call them. They're hiding. You'll never see who they are. Their username is like unicorn rainbow bang 123, and you'll never know who they are because it's just some random person, probably a kid that doesn't know any better. And I think like that's the real thing that you have to realize.
Yeah, I think some of the most absurd comments definitely come from kids that just don't know what they're saying, and it's sad because I know at my age I was a horrible kid growing up. You know, getting in trouble. I might have even been somewhat of a bully. But I was always just trying to be funny. Yeah. And when you're a kid trying to be funny, you don't really know what's funny yet. And what you say could most likely be very offensive. So I think that's the problem.
Well, that's powerful. That makes a lot of sense. And you know, especially when you are in that middle school, early high school age, and you know, you just want to, please someone like me.
Yeah.
You know, but
that's the social media age, right?
Yeah. Well, now it's just amplified with.
Have you heard of my picture on Instagram?
They don't know what's cool. They don't know what's right versus what's cool.
It's a big
what's
thing.
popular.
Love me? Can we be friends?
It's so.
You know, it's like Black Mirror but real life.
Right.
I don't know if you guys watch that show at home, but I recommend it. It's actually crazy awesome.
I'll check it out. I haven't.
What do you think of the newest season?
It's really cool.
It keeps getting worse and worse. In my opinion, the UK version was what slayed, and I think it became very westernized, and the whole feeling of the show changed. Now, if we're going to be a podcast about shows and movies, I will get really in depth. But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail us.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious.
No, but I really
are there
would.
more? They're posting more episodes.
No, there's only
right?
4 so far.
There's only 4.
Right.
So I think I saw them all.
Okay.
I don't know. No, I gotta go check when I go home.
They're fine. We watch them. We're like into it now, but it doesn't have the same like disturbing shock value as the initial ones did. The initial ones were pretty.
Yeah, watch the.
Don't
first
watch them with
season.
your children.
check it out,
It's not a.
yeah.
It's not a kid show.
I'm
at
so
all.
lame. Like the only
Futuristic.
shows I watch like two shows, and Shark Tank's probably the biggest one.
Oh, I
but,
love Shark Tank. That's one of
yeah.
my favorite
I'm
shows.
such a nerd. Like it's so transparent. But anyways, let me ask you this because you brought a few minutes ago. I know you mentioned viral videos and going viral, so to speak. When did you realize, or when did you guys kind of get this realization, like, holy shit, we're getting traction, and we need to deal with this? Like was there a certain video? Was there a certain point, in the process, or was it just over time?
I mean, this is the fun part of the story.
Yeah, I was bartending at a restaurant
Let's start
in
there.
upstate New
Let's do it.
York, and JP and I posted a recipe of a mac and Cheetos Burger King copycat recipe, and
saw
I
that
just
video.
took a bunch of mac and cheese and made it into like a little turd, battered it and deep fried it, and for whatever reason that video went on the trending list. We got so many new subscribers, and one day JP comes to the restaurant, and I'm working at the time, and he brought his laptop, hooks up to our Wi-Fi, and sits there, and he's got the stats in front of us. There's this website called socialblade.com. You can look up any YouTuber's stats, even healthy junk food, and then subscribe to our channel also if you want. And he's looking at the stats, and it's just going up and up and up, and it's just like all in green, and he's like, oh my god, another 1,000 subscribers, and I'm like,
This
just
is like in real time.
Bling,
In
bling,
real
bling,
time.
bling. Yeah, it's like for me, a good analogy is like you just like went to Vegas and pulled that giant red lever and just coins started pouring out.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Because it's weird, but when you go viral, people understand that it's monetized. You know, it's not like what it used to be when someone just like has a curling iron and burns all their hair off and ends up on Ellen. You know, that's not the same because they didn't establish the business behind that viral thing.
Right.
So
at that time, we already had
300 videos.
300 videos. So when people saw that video, they were able to go and watch more content. So with that, our views just started to be more per day.
Skyrocket. Yeah. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that base, though, that solid base of videos that we cared about and loved. Because what ended up happening is we started getting comments, obviously good, bad, and the ugly, but the good were, where's this channel been my whole life? Currently on a binge. And then people literally thumbing up that, saying, me too. And then you have like just all your videos are now getting comments. They're all getting likes. They're getting dislikes, but they're also getting likes. Right. They're getting views. Everything's happening. And there's no stopping it. It's like a snowball effect. And I was watching the live ticker and seeing our subs jump at like 100 at a time within seconds. That's like 100 people at home clicking that button.
Oh, that's
every
incredible.
second.
It's so incredible.
So if you think of the magnitude of that, it's just I was up with my laptop. Julia was really easy to go to sleep. She's like, go to bed. I'm like, no, I must watch this entire moment. I'm just watching a number for probably 2 hours like a lunatic with this bright glowing laptop in front of me in a dark room. And then, of course, I call my mom and I tell her, like, hey, Mom, we don't have to move back home because this is after we quit our job. We were barely making by after we quit our jobs. We just took a leap of faith and went with it.
So even before you were turning a real revenue or maybe potentially any revenue, you just kind of said, let's do this?
No. We started building it, and I started to bring in brand deals, but it was not at, like, the point where we were really going to have money in our savings, anything like that. We were like living paycheck to paycheck, and I was still bartending, and he quit his job as an engineer, and I quit my job at the law firm, and I just kept bartending, so I made some money. We never said we were going to go move home with your mom. Did you have that conversation without me?
Never, but I was always singing in the back of my head. It's like that cliche thing, like, Mom, I'm not moving back home. You know, I mean, like, honestly, I would find a way to avoid living with my mom again as much as possible if that happened, but it didn't. So
well, and the thing is, like, we lived in New York for maybe several months or so, maybe me for about a year only bartending, and you for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. And at that point, we were full time, creating videos and working on the craft instead of taking 8 hours out of each day to be doing another job. And that's when it started to pick up. And when the restaurant that I was working at unfortunately closed, we were like, we're done with New York. We don't need to live in upstate New York anymore. We can live wherever we want. We just have to keep creating content and keep pushing forward. So we just packed our bags and drove down to Orlando, our favorite city where we live.
Was there a connection here?
Kind of.
Yeah, what we did was we had like a giant spinny wheel, and we flicked it, and it landed on Orlando. No.
Knowing him, I believe that. To be honest, but
I really was shooting for Arkansas, but got to do what the cards tell you to do. No, I wanted to. Her parents live in Naples. We want to be close, but not too close. No state tax, and we wanted to get away from the harsh winters. And my friend from growing up does stand-up comedy, and I wanted to get more involved in that whole community as well.
That's awesome. Can we back up for a minute? You talked about going viral, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things on people's minds is we're going to create a viral video. We're going to go viral. Oh, it's not just that simple, right? What was it about that video, do you think, that really kicked it off?
I think it was partial to Cheetos is just kids love it. Mac and cheese, kids love it. And also Burger King just came out with it as a new item, and all of the other magazines, etc., outlets were talking about it. And it became a little YouTube trend. People were making the recipe. So if we made the recipe but did it better, and what is better? Whatever.
Better looking on camera, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prettier, tastier.
Everyone was doing it. Everyone was eating these things. Every single YouTuber was
doing reviews or
yeah. You just scroll
in their
through,
car.
and what happened was we already do that. So what made it lucky for us is we were doing a trend before it was a trend. So when it became a trend, we were already doing it. So I was like, oh my goodness, these guys are geniuses. But it was new in 2014. Since times past, stuff like that isn't exciting anymore. And we can't latch on that and think that, oh, next time Burger King comes out with a Cheeto hot dog, that's going to do just as well. Unfortunately, it's not. That time has passed. But when it happened, people were like, Cheetos, mac and cheese, what is this madness? But now we're like, with the food world and how it's evolved, we're like, that's it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it? You got to keep upping your game. You got to, and since then they have, like, ramen bun burgers and, like, you name it, like, these crazy concoctions. So, but then everyone was watching it, so it was inevitable that people were going to see us.
It's interesting. You really kind of embody the overnight success where it's never overnight for the people doing it. It takes so much time and energy and effort and resources, right, to get to the point where the switch can be flipped, or you can be in the right place at the right time with perhaps a little luck.
I think that's the truth, and the main thing is that it's
the biggest advice is at when that happens, you need to 100% capitalize on that moment. So what we did was we just started. And that was so smart of us because we didn't have that much knowledge about it. We were just like, that worked, let's keep doing it. So literally the next day, hopped it and had an idea to make a mac and Cheetos cone. And it'll have a better, easier way to eat the same thing. And then after that, mac and Cheetos pizza, mac and Cheetos, Big Macs, and we did so much where our audience was just like, stop with the mac and Cheetos, or stop with the Cheetos. Once they started to say stop with the Cheetos, that's when you have to be like, okay, all right, I'm going to back off a little bit.
Maybe we got excited.
But what it did was your audience came because you did that, and then you're doing more of that, and then they're like, yeah, you're doing what I liked, what you did that made me come here.
And prior to that, just starting it is the hard part, and having that, let's say 300 videos before the viral moment. And for us, it was just about it being our passion and our hobby and something we actually wanted to do. And maybe JP had the idea that this could happen, and I was a little bit in the dark. So it came without forcing it or thinking that it had to. And I think that that's part of it as well. Like having this extreme expectation of going viral or being the top Instagram model, whatever. It's a little silly, and just being more realistic with it and having a more distinct approach.
Yeah, like be proud of every milestone. And I'll tell a lot of people this too, because they're like, oh, yeah, I only got 10,000 followers. I'm like, you should love every one of those 10,000 followers that you have, even if it's that amount. When we first hit 10,000 subscribers, we did a celebratory video for it. I was like, I made it. I'm still working my day job, but I'm like, I made it. Because the breakthrough to hit that 10K was, you have to be working at it to do that. You can't it won't just happen. It won't just fall in your lap.
Yeah, that is so true. I have a few companies that we've been at it for years. We have no, we don't even have 10,000. So and then I have one company called 7-Eleven Sports, which we happen to have over 10,000 Facebook followers. But I have a feeling it's directly tied to something else. I'm not sure what, hence the name. But at any rate, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool what you guys do. Let me ask you this: YouTube, it's an enigma to me. Have they ever reached out to you and said, hey, like, we love what you're doing, here's a plaque, come to our secret YouTube lair? Like, is there something of that exists?
Yes.
And if so, where,
totally,
when, how?
100%. There's okay, so YouTube.
We can't speak of this.
Yes, we
Wait,
can.
let's just draw intrigue. What you guys are about to hear is something that not a lot of people know about, and we don't really like to say too much about it because it's kind of like that secret society. I'm not speaking the Illuminati or anything like that. That's ridiculous.
You're ridiculous, JP.
Should we turn down the lights for this?
Yeah.
Should we make sure that our audience is really sitting down and comfy?
Do you have any twinkle lights?
Ooh,
They
I do
help.
have sparkle. We could.
They're like Google is like, and Google and YouTube are like the speakeasies of like tech. But anyway.
I think that everyone knows who and what Google is. Google is a big company where you can get anything that you search for. It's the upgraded Ask Jeeves. Nobody talks about that. Sorry, bring that again. I'm sorry, YouTube. I didn't bring them up. No.
Let's talk about Kmart too.
So Google owns YouTube, and Google is headquartered everywhere, and YouTube is kind of the subset of that. So in Los Angeles, we were invited to Google and to YouTube. They have YouTube studios, and they have YouTube studios in Canada, in New York,
everywhere. Even in Vietnam, we found out because we're going to be going to Vietnam.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, what it is like. Once we got out of our MCN, which is a whole nother discussion, which is a multi-channel network, YouTube gives you a partner manager. If you're I believe if you have enough subscribers, there's probably some sort of threshold or something.
Do you have any idea what that number is?
I would say if you know the right people, you should have representation around 100,000 subscribers, but I would say probably 1 million or more.
I think it's one of those situations too. If you are managed, if you have an agent or a multi-channel network already working for you on your behalf, it'll be harder for you to get a partner manager as well, because the partner managers might look at that situation as, oh, they're already taken care of. And it was when we were released from our multi-channel network, we were able to obtain a partner manager. And since then, we've had better connections.
Our life
YouTube
has improved dramatically.
Yes.
Because like you're asking before, is there a secret YouTube cave? If you don't have representation from YouTube, you won't see this cave. And because we do, and they ask us to do stuff, and we say yes, we'll do it. And I think that's a very important thing. YouTube probably looks at it like, hey, these guys are yes guys. We needed their help. We helped them at VidCon. We did a huge live demonstration. And we could have said, oh, we got all this stuff going on at VidCon. I'm sorry, we can't. No, we're like, yes, we will do that. Because they're essentially our boss.
Right.
So now that we
It's a great way to look at it, by the way.
Yeah, and now that we do all this for them, they're saying, hey, we got this fun creator summit we'd like you to go to, which is literally the best thing you could ever do in your entire life. Like being at a party right in Rockefeller Center while Alicia Keys is playing the piano and you're having a cocktail while you're eating some appetizer. That's the life, and I'm sitting there seeing Alicia Keys right there playing as she's my puppet. And I'm like, and then there's celebrities all over the place. And we got invited to that because we said yes to these things. And they're like, put them on the list.
That's the name of the game right there. That's awesome. I mean, that's really cool. I would love, just any of those experiences are great. Bree, did you have something?
I love that idea. It kind of goes back, I think a few years ago, there was something trending on like say yes to life, right? When an opportunity comes, just say yes. And it sounds like you guys have really embraced that, at least with the YouTube partnership.
I think it's really important just to show up, especially if you agree to doing something. But, you can't say yes to everything because then you'll never be able to focus and get anything done. And I actually have a very scattered brain problem because I take on a lot of tasks where JP is the main editor of our YouTube videos. I will do all of the breakdowns for Facebook because the format for YouTube can't be the same as Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, for Pinterest, for Reddit, wherever you're posting.
You were saying that, sometimes when you say yes to too much, there is a balance that you have to have here, because I think this is a story from another YouTuber. She literally had a mental breakdown. She took on way too much because she didn't want to say no to the opportunity, because sometimes you're going to be presented opportunities that you're like, oh my goodness, how do you say no to this? But then you realize, oh, there's a ton of work involved when you say yes to it. And you realize after the fact, wow, I shouldn't have taken this on, this on, and this on. So yeah, there is a fine line you have to.
So my biggest issue is on my computer screen, I have several next to each other. I'll have social media up here, and I'll be here editing or whatever, and like my brain can't focus. So I have to like minimize most of the screens and be like, okay, I'm just editing. I'm not gonna look over here until then, and then of course my phone rings, and it can be complicated. But I think that's why JP, even though it can be stressful to kind of do mostly the same monotonous thing, it's a little bit easier to be just focused on editing, where kind of all of the other jobs kind of lie in the other court.
So cool that you're such an amazing team where you just complement each other like that. I think that being on YouTube, it strikes people as just like, oh, you just make a video, of course. But it sounds like there's so much more that goes into it, with planning, with preparation, with strategy, with editing, with posting, with figuring out where to post and the best way to do it. And I'm sure time of day and day of the week. And how did you learn all that?
Trial and error.
The best model ever.
Well, we're also a couple. So we've been together for 7 years. Just a few days ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, guys.
It's so romantic.
I would say, yeah.
I'm sorry, internet.
No, great. 7 years, la-di-da.
Actually,
anyway.
fans want to hear that. They love that kind of stuff. So,
but no, I would say you don't really like learn all that right away. I think our first video shot with an iPhone, edited on iMovie, so everything was free, which is really important to people that say, I don't have money, I don't have, like if you have a phone and a computer, you can do it. If you have just a phone, you can actually do it. It's just a little harder because they do have editing software on phones. But yeah, you just shoot a video with your phone that everyone has, and then you chop it up and you upload it to the internet, and it's gonna be terrible because it's gonna be your first video. But then you keep doing it, and I think what evolves into it is you start to learn how to tell a story, and that's what people watch at the end of the day, is a story, regardless of what it is. They're watching a story. Let's be real. Or if you're a mukbanger, I don't know if heard of that, but people just sit there and eat copious amounts of food in front of the camera. I don't see the story there, but a lot of people watch that.
I love watching this.
I watch those too, and I don't know why. The competitive eating I'm into, I don't know why.
It's amazing. How do they do it?
I think it's kind of falls along the lines of like ASMR, in some sort of fashion where you're just kind of fixated on like this thing that's happening in front of you.
But there's like several different also stages of evolving there too, where when I quit my day job, JP was still working his full-time job, but had extra time when he was there to be writing scripts and stuff like that, because he wasn't always working on another project or whatever. I found myself trying to motivate myself to get work done when I was creating those specific jobs for myself, now that I wasn't working at a different place in the day. And it was very complicated actually at first, where JP was almost like bossing me around a little bit, and we've evolved and changed since then. Now I'm the boss.
That is definitely true. Isn't that any relationship?
That's every relationship.
They start, the guy's like, yeah, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, and then like 10 years in, where do you want to go to dinner? Okay, yeah.
No, I hate that conversation.
We can go there. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like I've learned. I think it's more of a maturity thing for guys to learn that. It's just we have to really kind of be on the same playing field.
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult part about running a business with your partner. It's complicated to separate it, and I know that this is not really about this either, but it's just like trying to figure out like, oh, well, you're upset about this situation regarding a work thing. That does not mean that I'm sleeping on the couch. You know what I mean?
You guys live together, work together, play together. Yeah.
Can we go off kind of on a tangent real quick and explore that? Is there any way that any actionable advice that you can give to the audience today to say, I work with my partner, and I can relate to you. My husband and I used to work together, where I work with my partner, and something he did in our personal life, or she, annoyed me, but I can't bring that into work. Or we had a disagreement about work, but now it's dinner time and we're back to being a couple. Do you have Any strategies or tips that you can offer to help navigate that? It's complex.
Yeah, the Enneagram test.
What's the Enneagram?
It's a test of like 40 questions that basically determines what type of worker you are. And then when you understand what type you are and what type your spouse is, then you have a very good like baseline understanding. That's not going to fix any of your problems, but it opens up the communication of what type of worker you are. And it really does break it down on several levels. Like, are you a leader? Are you a pleaser? Are you like when you operate best? Are you a night owl? Are you a morning person? Because if you know your partners like that, then you don't expect them to be you, because you can't expect them to be you. They're not you. And when you learn how they are, then you can complement them better.
But also just finding the right way to take a situation if there is any type of frustrating moment, or if anything was like a repetitious build that's like, I can't believe you've been doing that for 10 weeks. Well, why haven't you told me that was a problem then? Just trying to find like how to pause the situation, rethink it, and then come back in. It's super important. And also, I would take any advice if anyone else is a business couple out there, because we're always trying to grow and figure out things like that.
That's awesome. Back to the Enneagram test. Can we put a link to that in our description at the bottom?
Yeah, we'll put a link in the YouTube video.
Yeah, I'll send you it. It's actually a really good video that I watched that a different couple did based on how to work with your partner.
Awesome.
So when I watched it, I was just like, wow. Because like a lot of times we want to be shy and think we got it all put together, but honestly, we need advice because we don't know everything. And I think once you start learning from other people and other things that professionals have put out there, you'll realize that their advice is really different than maybe your mindset was, and that's why things weren't working, because you were thinking this way when you should have been thinking that way.
That's awesome.
It's same with managers and leaders. I know people read books and stuff about how to be a good leader and a manager, and you realize your manager is nothing like that. You're like, whoa, he's horrible. I knew my boss was bad.
Mind blown. So check the description for a link to the Enneagram test.
Yeah. That'll be good to put that in there. Let me ask you guys this, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty financial details, because that's what everybody really wants to know. How do you make this work on YouTube? How do you make a living on YouTube? That's what everybody really wants to know. But before we get to that, let me just ask you this, because I know you mentioned you have an engineering background or were an engineer at some point, which explains so much from watching your show of how you make all these crazy schematics. But do you guys, is it just you two in your representation, or is there a whole team of you guys that are helping like with the post? I mean, do you guys have a team, so to speak, or are you the team?
Well, we're the main team. We do have like an editor and like an assistant who has been like helping with like kind of like small things that are just like we can't handle every little conversation, but it's this very small team where it's basically
they're not employed, they're subcontractors.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's payroll and all that tax stuff.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
And we're educating people and we're trying to grow, but we're so new in kind of this infancy stage of coming to Florida and creating our business here. We're an LLC acting as an S Corp, and like learning more about business and trying to figure out how to grow our team right now is where we're at. And to like having a real full-time employee, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So I just want to offer this. If you're ever looking for an intern, I would absolutely welcome you to either come to my class and say, I have about 70 students every semester. We're in the Department of Marketing. They're learning about internet marketing in my class. So if you're ever looking for an intern, I absolutely welcome you to come to class and say, hey, we're looking for an intern. Or you can just shoot me something and I'll be happy to post it and let them check you out.
Absolutely. So. I definitely need another editor.
We have we have very a few specific areas in which we really do need help, and we know that the person doesn't have to have way too much influence on like our style, and a lot of it is Facebook videos. Facebook's a huge place now on top of YouTube, and we don't have enough time to do both. But when you make one piece of artwork or video per se, you can keep repurposing it, and that's a brilliant thing to do with one piece of work. We don't have a lot of time to do that. Editors, people that have very basic knowledge can repurpose your stuff and make it look more Facebooky or make it look more Instagram, or find 60 seconds and throw that on Instagram, or even find a way to meme it with little gifs from funny scenes, or just there's so much stuff they can do from that one piece of work, and that would be a great job for somebody, and that could keep them busy for a while because we have a ton of videos that they could repurpose that we haven't.
That's such an awesome opportunity for learning and growth.
Oh, sure. Because you got instant material to work with, repetition, which helps them learn, and also the ability for them to kind of find their own inner spark, their own like flavor that they want to just kind of express. Because when it comes to editing, it's like Bob Ross, you're painting a picture, and
editing's the hard part, I think. I mean, that's the reason. If you ever watch my YouTube videos, please don't, because you'll probably laugh. But they're boring because it's just me in front of a camera and usually a white background, no editing. It's terrible. I admit it, it's terrible. I could use someone like that. I just wish they had a directory to find these people because, like, you know, sometimes you're dealing with people all around the world and it just gets to be challenging, and sometimes the English is broken. And I do a lot on Fiverr and stuff too, and I deal with a lot in the community. But sometimes, sometimes you get someone that's just not that good, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
I mean, with anything, and to figure out your style, I'm sure there would be a learning curve, especially if they've already worked with someone and they have some experience.
The hardest part is finding someone that is exactly kind of what they say. And we experienced at one point an internship thing, and I did bring on an intern for a short period of time, and she was fabulous. But on all of those resumes that we were given, everyone kind of lied on there, and I like literally asked them to just like, okay, edit me a short thing, and like 2 people sent me videos of something that they edited, and I called 10 people, and like it was just very it didn't make me feel confident in the process. But I know that there's opportunity there. I just have to jump back in on it.
That's how I started teaching. The story goes, the very short story, I went in to complain and came out with a job, like, and it wasn't not quite that cut and dry. But
yeah, I like that though.
That's the.
You don't like it? Well, you can fix it. Which is
right.
Which from what I hear, you're doing a fantastic job. So so good. That's awesome. So guys, let's get into the nitty gritty here. Okay, this is what the fans want to know. This is what all these creators that basically emulate and look up to you guys, and myself included in that, because I think what you guys do is very interesting, much more exciting than my job. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so basically what the fans want to know, they want to know how much money you make. They want to know, how does Patreon work? They want to know, are you getting free trips, free meals when you go places? How often are you getting recognized? Are you living this rock star life? Are you doing, how much is Dollar Shave Club, Audible, these guys? I mean, we want to know all this stuff. How does that whole piece work? If you could just lay it out step by step. You don't have to tell us exactly how much you make. Obviously, that we don't want to pry in that respect. But we would love to know. Are you living like someone working a retail job? Are you living like a physician, a surgeon? Where are we? Kind of give us a real, as close as you can, account of where you guys get your revenue from. And do you do this full time? I'm assuming you guys you have pretty much said you do this full time, only this, nothing else. Correct?
Yes.
$10 million.
Oh my God, I was totally going to do a Dr. Evil until you have to go like this. $1 billion.
Okay, so I think what we have to kind of invoke here is that anyone that reaches a certain threshold on YouTube, now the rules are going to change, so when you hear this, they might have changed, but right now it's 10,000 views lifetime on a channel, and I think 1,000 subscribers, and you can start earning money on YouTube. And when I first started, there's no rules. I just started making money off YouTube. I was doing like video game tutorials, and I got my first $100 Google check and took a picture of it and was like, yeah. And that was like on my personal channel.
Before we met.
Yeah. Now there's, they don't want any Joe Schmo to just go on there and upload, garbage or even worse, hateful stuff or
racy stuff.
Yeah, so there's requirements, and then they go through a review. So they're going to probably see your stuff and make sure you're not doing anything that's violating any terms. So if you're a good person and you want to make great content and you can reach 10,000 lifetime views and 1,000 subscribers, you can start earning money. And to do that does not take as much effort as you think. It just takes you wanting to do it. And once you get there, the rate at that point is going to be based on your daily average views. And I tell everyone this because it's the easiest way to calculate it. If you can, at the end of 365 days, can manage to get 40,000 views every day, or at least an average of it,
A daily, 40,000 daily.
40,000 views a day, that will equate to roughly $40,000 a year.
Oh.
So whatever you can garner in views a day will roughly equate to what your annual salary will be. Now, when I say that, I mean just YouTube monetization. That does not include other things that you could monetize during that time, such as merchandise, crowdfunding, and just your own personal investments. Sponsorship.
And how does that, as far as, because that's one thing that interests me, like the Patreon, for instance. Am I saying that right, Patreon?
Yeah.
Is that something where there's just fans that want to see you continue to produce content?
I'm sorry, can I jump in here? For those of us in the audience who aren't familiar with Patreon, do you want to explain what it is and then...
Sure.
So Patreon is a crowdfunding site, just like now membership program on YouTube, which we'd like to promote. And basically anyone that is a fan, a follower, or really likes your work can donate a portion of money depending on whatever tier, and then they can get different benefits out of that tier. So like for $1, you get to see some like behind the scenes stuff. For $5, you'll get to see early releases of videos. For $50, you're in the family. We're going to send you a package and so on and so forth. All the details, of course, are on patreon.com/healthyjunkfood. And I think it's just like a fun way to have our audience and community members be involved with what we do. And they want to be involved in that way.
That's awesome. So it's kind of like Kickstarter, but for YouTube.
Yeah, and the difference between
where you
Kickstarter...
come in different levels.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go away. It doesn't have an end date like Kickstarter.
The end date is when they want to end it. So as long as you
Okay.
keep providing to it and giving them whatever that experience that they paid for, they'll stay. Some people, you'll realize, though, are more like philanthropic. Is that a word?
Philanthropic?
They just want, they love what you do and they want to see it.
Yeah, like they don't expect anything. They don't care. They're like, listen, I know you have all these perks. I don't care about any of it. I have this money set aside for you guys, and I just love what you're doing. Continue what you're doing. So some people are like that.
You be you and both.
That is awesome. I bet you that makes you feel good. Like, but we're actually putting out quality stuff. People are giving us money because they just love what we do, and that's amazing because that shows you that you really, something sunk in with someone.
Exactly.
And it's not just for YouTubers, it's artists, musicians, anyone that's doing something like that. Do like a Kickstarter campaign, exactly. So it's not just for YouTube.
Definitely not exclusive to YouTube at all. A lot of people are working on films, and they'll give you a trailer and say, this is what we want to do, and we need this money to make it happen. And again, that's very similar to Kickstarter, but I think that's more for like products and stuff, where this is more like an art form, artwork.
And I just want to mention this one time, and it was right when we were about to move, and when he quit his job, we got this one patron who, I'm not going to disclose their name, they decided to come in at $500 a month. Wow. And they signed up for a year, and they said in an email, I don't want anything from you guys. I love what you do. I want you guys to push forward. And they gave us $500 a month. And that was like one of those crazy moments. Like, who is this person? We have no idea. They don't want to meet us. They want to talk to us. They don't want anything. Wow. They just...
Wow. How do you respond to that?
Lots of thank yous.
Well, we kind of implied...
Send them virtual flowers, like, thank you.
I think what we implied was how that would be used to grow what we're doing, and that we appreciate, because that's ultimately really why he did it, is he wanted to make sure that we would keep doing it, not get discouraged. So we kind of gave him confidence behind that, like, hey, this really inspired us, and kind of give us that
thanks for believing us. That
exactly.
Type of thing,
So are you in touch with that person today? Do they know?
Nope.
They're still backing. They changed it to $5. They even said it in the email. After a year, I'm going to adjust it back to $5. But the reason I'm emailing you is because I don't want my big donation to offset whatever the Patreon site was. So he's obviously an intelligent person to think of how his big amount could offset how other people might view backing us or not. So he didn't want to alter that.
Well, that's really awesome. So how many? Let me ask you this: how many Patreons would you say you have? Do you know? I mean, is it a number that you could say I have 500, I have 2, I have 3, or do you really not? Is it something that you wouldn't know offhand?
Well, we did. So basically, this is we partnered with YouTube membership programs. So whoever decides to still be a Patreon is great, but we kind of merged a lot of the Patreons over to the membership, because Patreon's great for what Julia said. Everyone, musicians, filmmakers, whatever. But since we're like owned by YouTube and YouTube is like, we want everything under the same umbrella.
It makes sense. Yeah.
It really does. It actually makes things easier to manage too. Because now you don't have all these different.
Don't have all these third party.
Yeah, and they're essentially the same thing. So I don't talk negatively or positive about either of them. It's like Sony or Xbox. You just pick one and go with.
They're both good, but you gotta ultimately at the end of the day pick.
They all work the same way. Yep, but I'd say like at our peak we probably had close to 500 when we were really pushing it. 500.
That's powerful.
patrons.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That does help. I mean, especially, I know, people sometimes think like, oh, these guys are just living the life, but they don't realize. I mean, I can only imagine what your setup, your years of making no money. I mean, all this other stuff that you've sacrificed and risked, for this YouTube career. So, so good for you guys. That was really, really awesome.
I would bring up the whole like luxurious part of things is what people don't realize is that we work every day, probably 8 to 12 hours a day, and we have actually had a YouTube friend that a horrible thing happened to him, and he had like a life and death experience and realized he's just been working for YouTube his whole life and never actually got to enjoy life. So a lot of YouTubers seem like there's these glamorous things, but we don't really vacation, so we don't really, and we were too busy to even really like stop and smell the flowers, I guess, because we have to stop and film the flowers and edit the flowers and upload the flowers. And
that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
But not to say that YouTube is a bad career. It's just that it gets so competitive that you don't want to stop. You really it's almost addicting. So then you realize you're really not like doing what normal people do. You're not having a weekend, like where everyone's just like out on a boat. We're like, we don't do that, and we don't lay out. We went to the pool one time. We're like, do you want to stay in? No, we got to go back in. I got a thumbnail I want to change because it's been bugging me. And so, yeah, the job doesn't really stop. So you kind of live YouTube. And I think a lot of YouTube.
Reminds me of the Truman Show almost.
Yeah.
You kind of are live on camera.
Well, I feel like JP and I are fortunate that we decided to go in a food realm, and that's
Very
what our audience
fortunate,
likes. Because exactly, then we can, not only eat, but also it's just one part of our life that's really involved. Like, we're not filming ourselves wake up and, put on our makeup. That's just not part of what we do.
Gotcha.
But I would say if anyone was like real techie, these tech channels, like if I had another life, I'd probably be like set up my own little studio and just do tech reviews because they get sent the coolest stuff, and that's kind of a huge perk, I think. And also I think that's not only sustainable, but I also think an idea like that is scalable.
So with that being said, there's been some companies that have sent us free stuff, like we got stuffed marshmallows from Marshmello, the singer. We got hot sauces,
food, like little things all the time.
Potato chips from Pocky's.
Kitchen contraptions.
I swear, we were not sponsored by these companies.
Yeah. Anything crazy? Anything that a standout? Like, oh my God, they sent us blank. Or just crazy? Anything crazy?
Luggage with our
YouTube has sent us stuff. Like, YouTube gifts are the best. Yeah.
YouTube has.
We love YouTube.
Yeah, they gave us roller skates. And
Really?
Yeah, like
so
really,
fun.
Random stuff.
Sweatpants.
But like a tech channel, I know like people that do Apple product reviews, they get like laptops before they come out for the masses so they can review them, and then not only are they probably getting paid sponsorship for it, but they also get into free products. So, and I bet they just have warehouses stacked full of phones and watches and laptops because we have our storage area is just full of just stuff that I don't even know if we can re-gift for Christmas, but like knives and
people love sending stuff, huh?
But
food products,
a
mainly
lot
for
of
us.
swag. Like swag's the worst. Like I don't want to have a million hats that say Polar Pop and Arby's, and it's just like I'm not gonna wear that. I'm not a walking billboard.
The best experiences are actually experiences, though. Like when we were in Las Vegas, we went to Hell's Kitchen, and they had no space for us. And then someone there knew who we were, and somehow they found a table. Like, when that happens, like, that's like...
Because they knew we were going to make a video. They knew we were going to make a video.
They cared enough,
Yeah.
and they gave us a table. They didn't have to do that. we still paid for our meal, by the way. It wasn't a freebie. It was, hey, here's
that's so
here's your
awesome.
table.
That's really neat.
I've heard it's very, very hard to get in.
Yeah,
to that
that's
restaurant.
You have
the
to
thing. When we
make a reservation.
When we walked in, I think the biggest perk we
That was the
get would
best.
probably be with food in restaurants. Like usually we get either a comp meal or whatever for that. But again, like there's those Disney vloggers, they probably get to skip the lines. You know what I mean? I want to go on the Hagrid ride really bad, and every time I go there, it's like broken or down, and
ridiculously long lines.
And it'd be so cool if like someone's like, "Are you healthy junk food?" Skip the line.
Hey, if I was working there, I'll take you. I would take you.
Because we did have someone at the Universal let us go through the Fast Pass line.
It was for your birthday, though.
Well, let's just pretend it wasn't and make it sound like it was really cool.
Might have been both. Maybe it was both. But
Yeah.
very cool. Well, let me ask you this then, and we'll start to get toward a wrap up in just a little bit here. But I could ask you questions all day. I'm sure Bree's got 20 more too. But if you had to say, without like throwing out specific numbers, if you had to say there's one revenue stream that makes you guys the most amount of income, would you say that'd be the AdSense? Would you say be the merchandise? Would you say would be the sponsorship deals? Is there one that you can really pinpoint? Because I have several companies, and a lot of them carry the weight for the ones that suck.
Of course.
And so the reason I ask is there one standout? You're like, oh God, those T-shirts are slaying. Something like that. Like I bought an Epic Mealtime T-shirt, so I know people do buy the merchandise.
Yeah, I bought an Epic Mealtime T-shirt too. They definitely slay on merch. I'll definitely say that. So for us, it's definitely going to be like just YouTube AdSense, like views.
And sponsorship. It's about 50-50.
But it's so different for other channels, is what I'm going to imply.
Not everybody gets the same arrangement. It's probably based on, I'm guessing, like subscribers
The
and
type
stuff.
of content, their experience working with brands for sponsorship, also
the category that they're in.
And the type of brands that are interested in sponsoring.
Yeah. For example, if you're like a beauty channel, you could be making most of your money off of e-commerce with like beauty makeup products. Yeah, like I hear they're doing probably better. The views don't even matter to them at that point. If anything, they're like, well, I just post just to advertise my organically advertise my product.
It's like a 30-minute commercial.
So they don't even have to worry about like the pressure of views. But because views now are kind of one of our main attributions to what we make, it puts a little pressure on the content. We want to make sure it's fire every time because we rely on it. So, yeah.
We are trying to grow our e-commerce, but that's also kind of secondary as we try to grow our team. So
Makes sense.
One day we're going to have some fire merch.
I actually like your merch, and I've actually there'll probably be a point you'll see an order come through. But
Well, you're definitely going to like it moving forward because like the ideas we have for it is something that I just want to have what I would want to wear. And then merch aside, we want to get into a spice line where we have like bacon cheeseburger spice.
You can't tell
okay,
anybody
we won't say. But yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
that's actually a great idea for you to come out with your own branded products because I mean obviously you guys are in the cooking world already. And do you have any kind of professional cooking experience or?
I worked in fine dining growing up. He worked in fast food. We've just been working like too many jobs throughout our
A lot of life experience for being so young.
Lives.
Yeah.
Mine was like more like a Five Guys. I worked at a place like a local place like a Five Guys for about like 15 years. I absolutely love it, and I would still work there today just for fun because I like cooking, like grilling, like short order, like real quick stuff. There's a thrill to it. Plus, there's an art form to it. Sure, fine dining is like fancy and all, but to make really good junk food, I'll make you one of the best burgers you'll ever eat.
Well, I was working in like fine dining Asian French style bistro for Chef David Britton of Dinner Impossible, and I was like working at events with like Bobby Flay and
Name drop.
Robert Irvine. And so like I mean I think it's just like a different style. And
I worked with Ronald McDonald, so
there's I think that's what makes us more our yin
McDonald's.
of our yang. You know what I mean? Because he is that junk food, and it's not like I'm trying to class anything up, as much as I just have a different view of everything from this
But
other.
isn't that makes you guys such a good team?
Oh yeah, yeah, because
Makes it
you don't want to
complicated
have
also,
the same,
though.
yeah, but it makes it so there's variety. Like if we both agreed on everything, then there wouldn't be that giant difference. As far
Chicken
as
nugget? Is that what you were gonna say?
Giant chicken nugget, yeah.
Yeah, my giant chicken nugget would have not existed if we didn't have to compete against how to make it.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
and if you haven't seen that video, go to YouTube and search giant chicken nugget. And
It's
you will
pretty cool.
see it, I promise.
And you'll see JP's engineering background there too. Is that when he makes the giant box too?
Oh, yeah, that was
that's
Or
like,
no, that's Happy Meal
yeah.
Box. I'm sorry.
yeah, we did that one also, where we made the same chicken nuggets again, but that was my chicken nugget recipe. I just have to say, I'm sorry, I just said it.
Oh, that's
Yeah, he's
whatever
proud of
helps
me.
you get through the day.
It does. It makes me feel better.
Whatever.
Nice.
Give me some of this bang.
Hey, I'll tell you what, it's actually hit the
It's
spot.
actually good.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's actually pretty awesome. But anyways, enough said about that.
good
Bang,
thing
we'd
for
love to
your
have you
buck,
on.
right?
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys on sponsor. So please reach out. Other than that, guys, any other questions, Bree? I know.
I do have a question. You have given some awesome tips today, some awesome tricks for people to do. I think you've shed a lot of light on actually what it is to be a YouTuber, right? It's not just sitting down, creating content, tossing it up, and then going out kayaking for the rest of the day, right? If you, I think in fact one of my favorite pieces of advice that you gave us was to repurpose content. So if you had one last piece of actionable advice that our audience could implement today, what can they do today to make tomorrow better for themselves, whether it's personally, professionally, they're getting into YouTube, they're already on YouTube. What would you tell them?
Actually, I would say you have one day, try to make a video from start to finish, upload it, and be proud of it in some sort of fashion. Because doing is the most important thing that you could do to make that next step. And if you're already making videos, make another one.
That's awesome.
My opinion too. Oh my god. I think that you just have to do something that you're passionate about and that you can keep doing. After you make one, you're still passionate about it after you made one. Oh, can you deviate from that? Can you write another song? I think that's why recipes made so much sense for us to keep having another project. So if you look at it that way, hopefully it'll help you grow and maintain and keep going.
Very nice.
What
I
I
like
got.
this. This is solid.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming. It really has been a pleasure. This has been an awesome interview. This is probably one of my most sought after interviews. And as you guys know from my emails, I'm quite persistent. So thank you, Julia, JP. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really a pleasure. I know all my friends that see this are going to be so excited because we're all fans.
Awesome.
They're going to be jelly.
Yeah,
Kidding?
yeah.
More than
Thank
excited.
You for having us.
Hey,
Thank
we're-
you
You
for
should
having
invite
us.
us over for a barbecue then. We can hang out with everybody. We're lonely. We're
Hey.
YouTubers. And that's one thing we're going to leave you guys with. YouTube's a very lonely job. You don't work the same office atmosphere as you used to. And I say 80% of the job is editing and back end.
Mm-hmm.
So the 20% you see us having fun, that's 20% of our life. That's
But
fun.
we do have each other.
Aww.
Some YouTubers are only by themselves.
true.
And that's a little bit different, right?
True. We have each other.
Well, tell everybody, for the few that don't know, where can they find you guys online?
You can find us on YouTube. Just type in healthy junk food in the search bar.
That's
And-
HELL.
Yes,
You
it's
can
Wow.
type
not.
it in wrong though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you type it in wrong, which I have done before,
Yeah.
it actually, I don't think there is another channel. Or if they are, you
No.
guys just dominated them.
No, there isn't. So I usually just tell people, hey, go to YouTube, search healthy junk food. You'll find us.
Perfect.
And on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where can we?
Healthy junk food everywhere. You can also go to healthyjunkfood.com and you can find a list of all of our different recipes. They're searchable by category.
Woo!
And that's healthy junk food, HELLTHY.
And if you want to buy some merchandise, including cutting boards, aprons, shirts, and soon possibly even a spice line, who knows, go to shop.healthyjunkfood.com. This is sounding like an advertisement.
No, we love it. We're business
You're
people.
doing
You
great.
advertise
Let's
away.
keep going.
You advertise away.
What else can we talk about?
If you want to visit my mom's Etsy store, it's Mary Jean
Mm-hmm.
Lambiase, and she's got a lot of artwork on there. She's been working really hard at it.
Hey.
If they want to find you on Patreon, are you still there?
We are still on Patreon.
We are still on Patreon, but we'd advise you guys to go to YouTube and check out our membership program. All the information on that is also on our website.
Nice. I'll have to check that out 'cause that's
Fantastic.
an interesting program as well. So I'll have to take a look at that. Well,
I
thank
feel
you.
like an outlet with so many plugs.
Basically, anywhere you're looking, it's healthy junk food, and then you'll see his face and my face, and then you'll feel lucky.
Oh, man.
I think that would just make our day, just to go on and see you again.
Come say hi.
Well, guys, also, real quick, if you want to find us, you can search us on YouTube. Probably not as easy to find as these guys, unfortunately, but we are Our 3 Cents, OUR, the number 3, the word cents, not like money, like sense here. SENSE. So check us out, guys. We would love for you to visit our page if you like this interview or similar interviews like it. Bree, why don't you go ahead and tell us who our next guest is going to be on the next episode.
Tune in next week for the awesome Dr. Sontag. He's going to talk to us about the business of being a doctor. He's going to touch on medical marijuana and CBD. He'll talk with us about what it's like to work a 12-hour day and then have a family at the same time and find some balance. So tune in. He's super passionate about what he does, and he's a great doctor.
That's incredible. I'm going to be listening.
Well, and he's he's right here in Central Florida as well, just like everybody else. And so definitely tune into that show if you guys would. And also, real quick, guys, we wanted to invite anyone out there that would like to be part of the show, be on the show as an interview subject. Try to be entertaining. We need social media influencers, YouTube stars. We want a bank manager. We want to find out how much money people have in their banks. We want an investment banker. We want to talk to lawyers, doctors, politicians. We want the nitty gritty, guys. We want the inside scoop on the business world as it really is, and not as not the PC version. So please, guys, if you're an Instagram model and actually make money off of it, contact us. If you have any kind of interesting claim to fame, rags to riches story. If you're the most interesting person in the world, let us know, guys. Those are the interviews we want. Thank you so much. Tune in next time. Our 3 cents.